There was a woman who was dragged out of a town hall meeting in West Virginia simply for listing the corporate donors of politicians. I've jokingly, but not, I mean, I guess I'm not really joking when I say it. Politicians should display their corporate donors sort of like NASCAR drivers do, either on the front of their lecterns when they speak or in some other way, so that we know who's funding them, right? Who has donated money to these politicians. And Lisa Lucas went to the West Virginia State House to testify against a bill sponsored by the oil and gas industry called HB 4268. And it would let fossil fuel companies drill on the land of small mineral owners without their consent. And when I saw this, I thought, wait a second. I thought right wingers were all about the sovereignty of land ownership and landowners, but they want a bill that would let corporations use the resources of that private land without consent. Doesn't really make sense. Part of that double standard from the right. But that's not the story here. The story is that Lisa Lucas showed up and she said, hey, listen, the people who want this garbage bill got money from the companies that will profit from it. And she started reading who got the money from these oil companies and gas companies. And she was told to stop. And eventually she was physically removed from the room. Check this out. Take a listen.
I'd also like to point out that the people who are going to be speaking in favor of this bill are all going to be paid by the industry, and the people who are going to be voting on this bill are also often paid by the industry. For example, and I have to keep it short simply because the public only gets a minute 45, while lobbyists can throw a gala at the Marriott with whiskey and wine and talk for hours to the delegates. So to keep it short, on the Judiciary Committee, Charlotte Lane, about $10,000 from gas and oil interests, including AEP, Marathon, First Energy, Dominion, EQT, and I could go on. Next, let's talk about John Schott from Mercer. First Energy, $2,000, Appalachian Power, $2,000, Steptoe & Johnson, that's a gas and oil law firm, $2,000, Consol Energy, $1,000, EQT, $1,000, and I could go on. Now let's talk about Jason Harshbarger.
Ms. Lucas, we ask no personal comments be made. If you want to talk about
this is not personal comments.
it is a personal comment, and I'm going to call you out of order if you're talking about individuals on the committee. So if you would just address the bill. If not, I'll ask you to please step down.
Jason Harshbarger took $3,500, about 40% his money comes.
Right.
Drag me off. People deserve someone who are going to fight for people and not corporations. And if it's a personal attack commission public information, I'm very sorry that this is what the state is coming for you. Come on, Tammy Secretary.
The next speaker would be Julie Archer.
Right. So you heard the phrase personal comments, right? They said, listen, you're allowed to talk about the bill, but not about specific people involved with the bill. This is a totally arbitrary way to try to suppress this type of information, right? I mean, any reasonable person understands if you're involved with the bill, you're a big part of the bill. But because that's considered personal, she gets dragged off here. I actually think this is a great strategy for political activism. It can be really hard to show up at public comment periods at the local and state level and really make an impact. If you show up and you just start arguing about the politics of a bill, you're probably not going to change a lot of minds. What about the idea of showing up and doing exactly what Lisa Lucas did, which is you come prepared with a list of who received money from whom, and you say, I want to tell you that this is the amount of money that these people got from one side of this, and that actually could transcend party lines and appeal to everybody who is sort of against the crony capitalist system of political financing that we have. Make it about the money because they don't want you to know that it's about the money. Put it front and center, and good for Lisa here. And by the way, she is running for in the Democratic primary in West Virginia's 7th district. You can look her up. It's Lisa Lucas, Lisa with 2 S's. And you know, the bad news is that the bill that Lisa was testifying against did make it out of committee. It's expected to pass both the House and Senate, and it's eventually expected to be signed into law by the governor, Republican Jim Justice, and it's going to be disastrous for the environment. But congratulations to Lisa for doing something good. There should be more of this, and I think that this is something we should start doing nationwide. We've got a great bonus show for you today. We're going to talk about Westerners deported from Cambodia for their dancing. We will talk about a big change to the way that OxyContin is going to be marketed, and also another tipping related fiasco, this time involving a Florida megachurch. All those stories and more on today's bonus show. Don't miss the bonus show for members only at davidpakman.com/membership, and for patrons at the $5 a month level at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you then.